Hey guys, just wanted to let you know, if you want to stay connected with me a bit more outside of just the YouTube videos, I am always pretty active over on Twitter and Instagram as well. You can find me there under the same handle as here on YouTube, simply WhosImmortal, all nice and easy. So if you want to follow me on either of those platforms, by all means, feel free to do so. And now on to today's video. So we all know just how intricate and complex the gunsmith here in Modern Warfare really is. I mean, 50 plus attachments on most weapons is utterly insane compared to what we've seen in the past. And while the ability to make your loadout truly your own is awesome, there is also a whole lot you can screw up on when it comes to class creation. With so many things to mess around with in the gunsmith, a lot of mistakes can actually be made. So today we're going to highlight 7 things you're doing wrong with your classes this year. But before we jump into that, if you are new here, hey hi, how you doing? Each and every day we've got new videos going up here on the channel, so feel free to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news and intel. And of course, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And now let's get into the mistakes you're making with class customization here in Modern Warfare. So first and foremost, one major thing that a lot of players end up doing wrong with their classes is trying to build just one setup that works for a variety of modes. And while having a generally well-balanced class is great for a variety of engagements, trying to spread just one class across multiple modes can be a little tricky and oftentimes just not the way to go. You know, playing ground war is vastly different than playing cranked or playing shoot house, obviously, and the types of engagements you're going to get into vary, not only in distance but also in frequency. Ground war obviously has a lot more players, so in theory, yeah, there are more people to engage with, but the size of the maps and how they're laid out can also have some impact on your fights as well. You can have some extreme distance fights and also some really CQC based fights too. And one class setup is oftentimes not going to excel in both of those engagements. So instead of just rocking one class to use all across the board, you should be building classes to fit your playstyle in different modes. Now, in ground war, you may want a class to help counter all those rooftop snipers and the barrage of tanks you'll probably run into. While playing on shoot house, you may want a class that's great for close quarters gunfights. And for playing domination, you may want something that helps with objective defense, so on and so forth. So diversifying your loadouts for different modes and for different playstyles is definitely something you'll want to be doing. Moving on, the next thing that a lot of players end up doing wrong with their classes is taking extended mags for one of their attachment spots. Now, don't get me wrong, extra ammo is great, and in the past, extended mags have been super useful. But now, ammunition attachments are really only valuable if there's some kind of ammo conversion kit, and not simply extra rounds in most cases, because those extended mags are going to result in your mobility decreasing a ton. Most magazine options slow down your ADS speed and your overall movement speed, which ultimately is a huge disadvantage in this game. So instead of opting for some extended mags, I would instead suggest using sleight of hand. That way, instead of reloading less frequently while having a decreased mobility, you can actually just keep your mobility the same and simply reload faster. Overall, for more aggressive players, this is definitely a great way to help keep your weapon dominant, and it's something I've been taking advantage of a lot recently. Now, the next mistake that a lot of players make in the gunsmith is not using the right grip on the right weapon. Basically, each weapon has predictive recoil in this game, as we've discussed before, and because of that, you can know how any given gun is going to react when fired. Meaning if a weapon has more vertical recoil, you can counter that accordingly, and same deal goes for horizontal recoil as well. But since different guns have different recoil patterns, the same grip is not going to help with every single weapon you use. Some grips, like the Operator foregrip and the Ranger foregrip, are specifically intended to counter vertical recoil. So for a weapon that has more horizontal recoil, those are not going to be the best options to use for obvious reasons. So be sure to pay attention to what a weapon's recoil is like, and choose the right grip to help minimize the kick you experience when firing. Then, tip number 4 for today is going to be all about actually capitalizing on what the gunsmith allows you to do in-game that we've never been able to do before in Call of Duty. That is having the option to change our class setup on the fly in the middle of a match. Just like you can on the main menu, in-game you can adjust any of your attachments on the fly and adjust your setup as needed. So if you're not liking how the optic you're using looks, or if the recoil is too much of a nuisance, or if your weapon just feels a bit too slow, well, you can change all of that in just a matter of seconds in-game. So be sure to not overlook the ability to change your setup without having to return to the main menu, because honestly, one simple adjustment could change your entire experience in some cases, so just keep that in mind as well. Now, one of the biggest things that a lot of people overlook and ignore this year is simply mobility. It is without a doubt one of the most important things there is to pay attention to when it comes to your classes, because mobility is going to play a huge factor in the majority of the gunfights you get into. Basically, we all know that the time to kill this year is crazy fast, like you die in just a few bullets. So being that you have so little time to react in a gunfight, being able to get your sights up first in a fight is extremely important, because that's going to give you a very significant advantage right then and there. As I mentioned earlier, extended mags are one of those things that do really hurt your mobility. Some of the muzzle attachments will as well, and while it's not always smart to just avoid everything and anything that decreases mobility, focusing on some attachments that do help increase it, and using those as a standard on pretty much all of your setups is going to be a very big help. Now, most of the time I will use a barrel that extends the range and helps with the control too, and in turn the mobility will end up suffering because of that. But that is also easily countered through things like the laser sight, as the tac laser and the 5mW laser are great for ADS speed and sprint-to-fire speed. Certain stocks also help boost the ADS speed, and certain grip tapes as well, including the classic stippled grip tape, are really solid to use too. So implementing those attachments into your setups on a more regular basis should help a lot when it comes to winning more gunfights on the spot while you're on the go. Next up, tip number 6 for today is all about something you can do in-game to improve your overall class that not too many people might realize they're not doing, and that is dropping your secondary for a primary weapon that you find on the ground. Most of the time, people probably won't be using Overkill because EOD is such a crutch perk in the perk 1 spots. So for that reason, oftentimes you'll have a pistol of some sorts as your secondary, which, don't get me wrong, is fine for some engagements, but obviously something like an assault rifle or an SMG is going to be far more effective than a pistol in the vast majority of gunfights. So when you take out an enemy, swapping your secondary for their primary can really help you make your entire class setup a bit more dominant without having to go out of your way to use a perk such as Overkill. Then finally, to wrap things up for today, the last major mistake you could be making with your classes is not using complementary attachments, meaning attachments that work especially well when paired with one another. Obviously, we focused a lot on mobility within this video, and pairing those attachments that help increase that stat together can be a huge help in the long run. But some players may also try to use an attachment that, say, ends up getting rid of tracers when you fire, but then they also have a laser sight on their weapon that enemies can see, which kinda negates the whole no tracers thing. At the same time though, using attachments that all end up decreasing one stat in a smaller way, like those that decrease stability or aim walking movement speed or whatever else, might not seem like a huge deal on their own, but when you couple together a few attachments that all have the same drawback, you are going to end up with one seriously bad stat sheet with a ton of red bars plaguing your setup. I have found there to be a lot of setups out there that actually feature nothing but green bars and increased stats all across the board, and really paying attention to those individual cons of each attachment, then trying to counter some of those said cons, is going to result in a much more balanced and efficient setup at the end of the day. Now, of course, with any weapon, you're not going to be able to follow these tips and immediately be dropping nuke after nuke or 100 kill games on a daily basis. But these are some great stepping stones when it comes to greatly improving your overall experience in game, so definitely try these out and try to implement them into your gameplay when you can, and because of it you should see some solid results. But with all of that being said, those are effectively 7 things you are probably doing wrong with your class setups here in Modern Warfare, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are new here and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, including all the latest news and intel, updates and leaks, and pretty much everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As always, if you do want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all Scuff, G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. You can find all of those links listed down in the description below, and once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.